and welcome to the State of Shakespeare. I'm Jim Elliott.
And I'm Garrett Vandermeer.
And today on the program, we have Jacob Ming-Trent. Welcome, Jacob.
Hello, what's up, guys? Glad to be here.
It's so good to have you. Jacob Ming-Trent has a very excellent resume, so I'm just going to give you a few of the highlights. Currently, he is at the Folger Theatre performing How Shakespeare Saved My Life. And that's what we're going to talk about today. In addition, at the Folger, he's done A Midsummer Night's Dream. At the Shakespeare Theatre Company, he's done Merry Wives of Windsor. On Broadway, he's been at Gypsy and Shrek in the original cast of Shrek the Musical, Hands on a Hard Body. Off Broadway, he's been at the Public Theater in The Harder They Come, for which he received a Lucille Lortel Award nomination and an Audelco nomination. He's appeared at the Public in Twelfth Night, Father Comes Home from the Wars, another Lortel Award and an Audelco nomination. He appeared in Cymbeline, The Tempest, in Shakespeare in the Park. He appeared in Merry Wives of Windsor. And in addition, in New York City, he's been in the Classic Stage Company, Red Bull Theater, Theater for a New Audience, Epic Theater Ensemble, Lincoln Center Theater, all the great ones. He appears in shows on Showtime, HBO, AMC, and has a lengthy film resume. He is a very, very talented working actor. Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you. That makes me sound really fancy. I was like, oh, that's right. I did do that.
What a great resume. And a lot of Shakespeare. I highlighted the Shakespeare, but you've been in a lot of other mediums as well. So great.
Jacob, where are you based out of these days?
That's a great question. I have no permanent address currently. When the pandemic hit, I was in LA filming a movie called R#J that ended up going to Sundance. And then that movie wrapped and I drove across country. At that time, I had a house in New Jersey. And I got back to the house and I decided to sell my house on a whim. And I drove to Mississippi because I wanted to write a story that took place in the Mississippi Delta. And then since that time, which is about 5-6 years ago now, I've just been going where the work is, I went out to Berkeley Rep to do this show. So I was out there for 4 or 5 months and now I'm in DC and then I'll be in Massachusetts and then back in New York. So it's a wild nomadic ride, but I've learned to love it.
Well, you've spent quite a bit of time in Washington, D.C., which is where you're joining us right now.
Yes, that's right.
What is it like being an actor in Washington, D.C. right now?
It's great. This is a great theater community. Really, it's one of the great theater communities. I've made a lot of friends here that are artists. The work here is very interesting. The people support it passionately. The audiences are vocal and loud. They're knowledgeable. It's great. It's one of the great theater towns, quite frankly. So it's a pleasure being here. People stop me on the street every night and want to talk about the play and what I'm endeavoring to do with it. So it's been a joy.
That's fantastic. So you've played a lot of Shakespeare roles. So I have a two-part question. One is, what has been your favorite role that you have performed? And two, what's the role that you haven't performed that you wish you could have a crack at?
My favorite at this time is probably Falstaff. I've done it twice. Falstaff is just... he's a riot, he's funny, he's problematic. Falstaff is really Shakespeare's, and out of all of his characters, Shakespeare is generally saying, we need to be more like Falstaff. Now, that doesn't mean in everything that Falstaff does, but Falstaff believes that we should eat and drink and make love and be merry, right? And that's what Shakespeare's trying to tell us with Falstaff, that we all should be doing more of that. We don't have to fighting wars and doing all sorts of these things. But so I love playing it. The audience loves that character, and it's been a riot. As far as what I want to play now, this is an amazing gift. I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, I don't have another Shakespearean character that I really need to play. There's some concept, I really want to do Richard III. I have this idea of setting Richard III in 1920s Harlem, Tin Pan Alley, the Cotton Club maybe, and I think that would be a lot of fun. So I have ideas like that. I have an idea for Julius Caesar. So I'm more into what's the concept of the show, what community are we doing it in, and how is the show going to affect that community? That's what I'm really into now.
So would you want to direct?
Yes, people are talking about directing now and teaching now. So That is something that I would be into. Also, just building projects from the ground up. I'm no longer, I do audition every now and again, but I'm really into building things from the ground up with a director, with a producer, with a theater company. I have a show at Shakespeare and Company in Massachusetts called Shake It Up. And me and the artistic director built that from the ground up, and it's been running for 3 years now. So, those kind of things are fun to me.
That's great. So the play you're in at the Folger is How Shakespeare Saved My Life. So before we go into the actual play, how did Shakespeare save your life?
Well, growing up in Pittsburgh, PA, I was born into a problematic family, a lot of abuse and drug use and mental illness. And so I found Shakespeare accidentally one day. I walked into the wrong classroom, and the teacher wouldn't let me leave without reading a Shakespeare speech. And I read it, and I fell in love. And why did I fall in love? I fell in love because Shakespeare was able to give voice to what the well of emotions I was having. I couldn't really give expression to it. In Shakespeare, I could find a way to give expression to it. It could hold all of what I was feeling. So I fell in love with it. I ran with it. And here we are 35 years later.
So here's the question I have. How old were you when you walked into that classroom?
12 years old.
12 years old. And so, I think one of the big things that people deal with when they approach Shakespeare for the first time is it's almost like a foreign language.
Mm.
And so as a 12-year-old person who had never been exposed to Shakespeare, do you have an idea of what it was that spoke to you, that allowed you to express or release those emotions that were in you? Was it the language? Was it the sound? Was it the plots? What exactly do you know what it was?
Well, for a long time, I thought it was just because I was a genius. And then I figured out, my father was a writer. He was a poet, and he was a novelist and a playwright. My grandmother was an editor for the Pittsburgh Courier. I met the president. She was a poet and a novelist. My mother's British. She studied Shakespeare all through her, school years. I grew up in a house that used language. It used language in very interesting and profound ways. And so Shakespeare wasn't a foreign language to me. I think the magic of it is I was able to look at the text, and I just understood it immediately. And to a teacher looking at me, a young Black boy in Pittsburgh, PA, they thought, oh my God, how is that possible? This must be some sort of magical Negro. But really, I wasn't. I just had a family that was readers and writers and going way back. And language is very easy for me to digest.
It's beautiful. So tell us a little bit about, you say you like to create things from the ground up. Is that what happened with How Shakespeare Saved My Life? Was it from the ground up, or how did it come to be?
Yeah, I was writing for a theater company in Massachusetts. I was writing a cabaret. And then these stories started to pour out, these stories that I just had never really, I kind of packed away and put aside. They started to pour out of me. And they were complex stories. Some funny, some not funny. And the theater company I was writing for was like, we don't know if we want this. And so I had a few friends that were like, you got to keep writing. This is interesting material about you being 12 and you being in ninth grade and you being in high school and being homeless and you running off to New York and to be an actor at 17. And so I kept doing it. And I sent like 16 pages to the Folger Theatre, and they immediately commissioned it. And I sent 16 pages to Red Bull Theater in New York, and they immediately commissioned it. And then I was on the hook. I had to write it because I took the money, So I took the money, and then I had to write it. But yeah, so I've been working on it for the last 2.5 years. And here we are. It's just, we did it at Berkeley Rep. It was received really well. Now we're here at the Folger in our preview week, and it just keeps growing and getting more specific and more defined. So it's been such a blessing and such a gift. I'm loving it.
And I'm assuming that the incident of when you walked into the classroom is present in your show.
Oh yeah, it's in there. It's in there, right at the top.
And what was the speech that you were asked to perform?
Henry V, St. Crispin's Day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not the O for a Muse of Fire.
No, it was Henry V, St. Crispin's Day. And it really made sense when you look at it. You have Henry, this young king, and he's got his small army, and he's way outnumbered by the French, and he has to inspire his troops to fight. And at that age and at that time in my life, I felt like I was outnumbered. I was, outnumbered, but I had to find some way to get inspired, man, to fight back and to fight for myself and to live, And so that's what Hal was doing. That's what Henry was doing. And it just spoke to me.
We happy few.
We band of brothers. That's right.
Beautiful speech. One of my faves.
So what can audiences who come to see the show expect?
Oh, man, it's wild. Lots of music, lots of images. I mean, there's a lot of call and response with the audience, and which is a lot of fun. And, we take Shakespeare and we rip it apart, stick it back together in all sorts of interesting ways. And I really reveal my journey, but I reveal it in a way that I feel like, we can all connect with. I mean, the things that I'm wrestling with, everybody's wrestling with. The things that I'm wrestling with, Hamlet was wrestling with, Othello was wrestling with, Juliet was wrestling with, so it's a play, it's a community event, really, and every audience that comes feels that by the end. So I never wanted to do a one-man show because I didn't want to be on stage alone. But because of how I greet the audience and the audience embraces me early on in the show, it doesn't feel like I'm alone at all. So it's great. It's a lot of fun.
I love the idea of audience interaction. We may use that. Not all directors will agree with me on this point, but it's my idea that Shakespeare's characters, as written, are always aware that there's an audience. At every moment, they're aware that that what's happening is public. I'm just going to ask you straight up: to what extent would you defend that statement, and to what extent would you refute it?
I completely defend it. I mean, listen, Shakespeare's actors were very aware of the audience. They wanted to be connected to the audience. Very much so. The idea of the fourth wall comes later. It comes much later. So there was no fourth wall, And so part of it, when you go to see Shakespeare, it should feel like you are in conversation with these folks. That's when it's at its best and its most fun. Later on, we added the fourth wall. We added all the seriousness and the rules. We got very into the rules of Shakespeare. But I play a lot of clowns, and the clowns, they break the rules. The clowns are at odds with the text. I mean, if you go back and listen to Hamlet's speech to the players, you can hear Shakespeare talking about the clowns.
Yes.
Yeah, you can. And if you go back and read about the clowns that were in his company, you can read about the tenuous relationship that he had with them. So, yes, the audience is there. They knew it. They played with them. When they went to different towns, they would change up the show, change up the jokes so that they can make those towns laugh. They can make those communities laugh, right? And so that's what I do too. That's what I do when I travel around the country.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's why theater is a thing, because there are so many things that film and television, that the camera medium does better
Yes.
In terms of, narrative, but there are things that theater does that only theater can do. And if you're not taking advantage of those, you're kind of you're leaving a lot of money on the table.
You are absolutely right. I mean, look, you can go home and watch Netflix. You can pause it. You can go to get popcorn. You could be wearing your pajamas, and that's all great. But when you come to the theater, you're sitting in the dark with strangers, and you're immediately entered into a community, right? It's like church in a way. And I see you and you see me. You can't get that anywhere else. You got to be at a rock concert. You got to be at a live sporting event, right? And theater's that. It's a rock concert. It's a live sporting event. We all know we're in the room together. And you know what? We should love being in the room together. So, yeah, it's a lot. I try to take advantage of that. I do. And I love it.
Now that you've done the show at Berkeley and you're doing it now at Folger, what have these different audiences taught you about the play that you've created?
The play is universal, just like Shakespeare is universal. I mean, I sought to do that. I didn't want to just speak to one group. I wanted to speak to as many groups as possible, and I wanted to hear what they have to say. I mean, we ask questions in the play. We don't give answers. So I'll throw out a question to the audience, and some people will answer that question or raise their hand or shout, and that's exciting. So what's been amazing is that the response in Berkeley was so robust. And so far here, the response here has been robust as well. So I think we're on the right track. So I'm excited to be here in DC with these kind of theater lovers. And then we head to New York to the Public Theater, and then we're with those kind of theater lovers. So we'll see what that's like.
So earlier you mentioned, Jacob, rock concerts and live events being similar to theater. And in your bio and your play, you talk about how you are also influenced by Biggie and Tupac and Stevie Wonder and Basquiat. What do those artists have in common with Shakespeare for you?
Well, Tupac, Biggie, the poets. I mean, Shakespeare's obviously is a brilliant poet. I mean, Tupac and Biggie are urban writers. Shakespeare's an urban writer. Basquiat is an urban painter. Baldwin, another urban writer. And so when you start looking through these things and reading about the subject matter and what they're writing about, and large ideas like revenge and suicide and love and violence amongst youth, it's all in there, right? They're writing about similar subject matter. And what we've done is, because of the time between these people, the hundreds of years between their writings and the different skin colors, we like to separate them. But I've sought to connect them because it creates new intersectionality. So I'll say that again. It creates new intersectionality. And when we create new intersectionality, we create new community. And we stop separating ourselves by race and by all these other artificial things. And we start looking at what we're talking about as human beings. We start looking at that. And not the differences between what we're talking about, but the similarities. And when we talk about the similarities, we start to see things and learn things as a group. So that's been very exciting to me to talk about.
Yeah. So I got to ask you another question about creating a one-person show.
Mm-hmm.
In the process of creation, who's the most important collaborator for you? Because a one-person show, they're not. Is it created in a vacuum?
There's a lot of great collaborators in the room. I like to work with large groups. So we have a director, who's a lot of experience, been around a long time. We have a movement person who's been around, a long time. We have, lighting and projections and sound and we all, the thing about our room is, what's beautiful about our room is we all chime in. It's not like the sound guy only talks about sound and the projections only talks about projections. We all talk about the play. There's a sense of ownership for everybody. And that has just been amazing. I never wanted to do a one-man show, as I told you earlier. So for me, it's great to be able to talk to all these genius artists in the room and get their opinion. And I'm so grateful that they're not scared to say, hey, Jacob, this needs to change, or I think last night you did this a little differently, and we can get into discussions about it. So, and they see so much theater, so, they know what they're talking about, man. So, no, not created in a vacuum, created with a group of people. And then there's people that I don't rehearse with, but I get on the phone with, like Jim Shapiro or Catherine Vimero Santos, Ayanna Thompson. I can go on and on and on. People that, Paul Walsh up at Yale, people that get on the phone with me, they read the play and we discuss the themes and how we can sharpen and deepen. I mean, it's just been an amazing process. I feel like it's a embarrassment of riches. I have like the greatest team on the planet, man. It's incredible.
But before we let you go, Jacob, because I want to hear your voice, you brought in a little bit of a speech for us from Act 5, Scene 5 of Macbeth. We can say it. We're not in a theater. And tell us why you chose this particular passage from the play.
Well, when Jacob is in the doctor's office, he's considering suicide or self-slaughter, as Jacob puts it. And the doctor asks him how long he's been feeling this way. And Jacob says, well, I've been feeling this way since I was 6 years old. I think I was feeling this way yesterday. I know I was feeling this way today. And I'm sure I'll be feeling this way tomorrow. And tomorrow. And tomorrow. As it creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard of no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And so, Jacob being an actor, he doesn't decide to use these speeches. It's not like he's saying, let me now quote the Scottish play. They just pour out of him. Yeah, they just pour out of him. And it's his way of explaining where he is in the world and how he's feeling.
And that's part of the production, I'm assuming.
That's part of the production, man. Just like that.
I love that. And when you think about this speech, I think about the fact that you're doing a play and then you're talking about a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and is heard no more.
That's right.
And it's obviously self-referential, but it's also there seems to be a little bit of self-deprecation there. Like I'm just Jacob. And do you bring that out at all?
Yeah, well, that comes out throughout the play because he's, without giving it away, he's going through, some really difficult things, and he introduces himself to everybody as a Shakespearean actor. And sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't. Mm-hmm. But it's his way of getting through the world. Shakespeare, when he was younger, unlocked many doors. But as he gets older, it gets a little more complicated.
Doesn't it always?
Just like life. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Just like life.
For folks that want to see the show, what do they need to know? What are the details?
For folks that want to see the show, I would actually just say, come with an open mind, come ready to think and to be entertained. The first rule of theater is to entertain. That's the first rule of theater. We will seek to thoroughly entertain you. So we'll start there and then we'll figure out how the rest of the night goes.
No, that's fantastic.
Awesome.
And you're there till July 5th, and we're going to put a link on our website to all the information on the Folger site. But they can always go to folger.edu and check out how to get there and how to get tickets.
Well, that's beautiful. Jacob Ming-Trent, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure, dude. I love talking about the theater. I love talking about Shakespeare, and I love talking about how theater can help folks. So yeah, it's a good time spent, and I'm very grateful.
I love your thoughts about community, and that's what theater is.
Yeah, totally, man. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you, and thank you for helping us get the word out.
You know it, and we'll look for you in New York.
All right. Yes, please do. Yeah. All right, guys. You take care.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks for being part of our community. I'm Garrett Vanderveer.
And I'm Jim Elliott.
Thank you for listening to The State of Shakespeare.
Thanks for joining us for the State of Shakespeare podcast. We invite you to visit stateofshakespeare.com for more episodes, information about each of our guests, and the Shakespeare text you heard on the program, and much more. And we welcome you to join the discussion by liking us on Facebook. That's www.stateofshakespeare.com. Thanks for listening.